FlavoredVivid, and let's dive into this week's astrology. First off, happy birthday to the Scorpio collective and those of you that tap into this channel here. This week we're going to mainly be focusing on from October 28th all the way until November 3rd. We have a lot of really intense, interesting aspects here as we're getting down into crunch time with Pluto finally moving out of Aquarius, like we've been talking about for what feels like the last year and a half. But the sky is a little bit tumultuous. I told you guys at the beginning of the month that October was going to be filled with a lot of challenges and also opportunities, not just challenges. So let's kind of dive into some of the things that we got going on here. We are officially in Scorpio season. As I said, we have the sun in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio. Venus has moved over from Scorpio into Sagittarius, which is exciting. Mars is in Cancer. Jupiter is still retrograded in Gemini. We have Saturn and Neptune both still retrograded in Pisces. Uranus is retrograded in Taurus. Pluto in Capricorn direct at the 29th degree. We still have the North Node and South Node in Aries and Libra respectively. The following year we are going to be moving into Pisces and Virgo in 2025, which is exciting. I'm excited about that shift of energy as well. We have Lilith in Libra, and then Chiron is still retrograde in Aries. So very internal inner healing work. So very appropriate out as we have this Chiron retrograde that we are coming to the conclusion of our transition of Pluto through Capricorn. All right, so I don't know if you've all been feeling it. I've definitely been feeling this energy pretty intensely. Yesterday we had a couple transits I'm just going to go over pretty quick here. On the 28th, we had Mars in Cancer trining Neptune in Pisces, which is an incredible time to lean into your guardians, guides, spirit team, and spiritual realms to help facilitate inspiration and help in any challenges that you might be having in your life. The great thing about having multiple planets in these water signs is we do have the opportunity for some really beautiful trines here to kind of help alleviate some of the more difficult or aspects that have a little bit more tension in the sky. So this is a really nice one to kind of counterbalance that Pluto-Mars opposition that we're having at the same time, which can deal with power struggles, conflict, and domination. We have this nice Mars trine kind of happening on the 28th here that is helping us kind of connect into our empathy, compassion, and intuition here. You could have a increased sensuality and creativity. It also could make you a little bit sensitive too, so just be aware of that. As yesterday there may have been some highlighted energy. This is the transformation. This is the transit of a spiritual warrior and healer. This is helping to facilitate healing and integration. This all what was happening yesterday. So you might still feel a little residual of this today on the 29th. This is heightened dream states and potential for astral projection and travel. I don't know about you guys. I had crazy dreams last night and the night before. So that just, for me, it feels like confirmation for me personally. Mars is infused with like a level of compassion and understanding that a lot of times can be lacking when dealing with the planet of war, as we kind of talked over a little bit before. So it's kind of softening those rougher edges of Mars that can sometimes be, you know, a little overly aggressive here. And it kind of, to me, with this transit, it almost kind of like facilitates Cancer or Mars being in Cancer a little bit better, because it's like another water sign involved to kind of have Mars understand that energy. So instead of it being like fueling and propelling yourself and making emotional choices, you do have the opportunity to kind of understand where these things are coming from a little bit more deeply. On the opposite side of that, it could just make you a little bit more emotionally reactive. But because it's a trine, it is a much more positive thing as opposed to a negative thing. We are going to go into these transits and then jump into the new moon astrology. I always say this, but I will repeat myself here. It's not just the day of for the new moon that is going to be impacting these things, okay? This is a build-up event. It's waves, you know, it's trickling out. It's not just, okay, this is the new moon, this is all I have, and then that's it, you know? So it's important to understand what the energy is leading up to it, the day of, and kind of as it kilters off. You know, it's all cyclical here. So that's why I go over some of these other transits as well leading up to it, so you have a more well-rounded grasp of what's happening in the stars, basically. During this Mars trining Neptune, you may feel like fighting for the underdog or have like an elevated elevated sense of justice, or a good way to use this energy is through humanitarian efforts, especially kind of as we go around the holidays, like volunteering at soup kitchens or just going and giving back to people in the community is going to be very beneficial for you guys. There might be a spiritual and physical intuition that are heightened. When I mean physical intuition, I kind of mean like the gut instincts here as well. I always kind of, when I think of it, it's like the third chakra instinct in your gut, and it always makes me think of like detectives and things. If you watch any of like the crime shows or mystery shows, where they're just like, I just have a feeling. I have a feeling that I have to go here or do this or investigate that. That might be heightened. That feeling might be heightened for you on that day. On the lowest vibrational end of this, it could lead to spiritual delusion. So just be aware of that and kind of ground yourself as you move appropriately through that. On the same day, yesterday, on the 28th of October, we have Venus in Sagittarius squared Saturn in Pisces, which this is the opening transit of this year. So the very first transit that we had was on June 8th of 2024, and this is going to be the closing transit of this particular energetic portal. This is a great day to practice self-love and self-appreciation, which was yesterday. There may be challenges within relationships that make you feel withdrawn, fearing criticism, and could lead to some delays here. Lean into that energy we were talking about before to kind of counteract this energy. So it's not just like you're dealing with like the Saturnian lessons and trials and tribulations that may come with that. Even if your triggers are soft to the touch today, don't stray away from affection and love from those that you care about. It could feel like you have like this double energy of, it's like, I kind of want to isolate, but I also want that love or affection. Like it could be like this weird, interesting balance that you might be feeling here. And part of that is like that push and pull energy between these transits that we're having. It's possible to feel lonely or even depressed during this day. But with the Mars trining Neptune transit, you could basically take action to kind of alleviate those circumstances, as I was saying before, okay? Same thing as last transit, giving back to your community is going to really help with this. All right, so let's jump into today, which is October 29th. We have Venus in Sagittarius sextiling Lilith in Libra, which is a really beautiful, great transit after we deal with that Venus squared Saturn from yesterday, which can, like I said, could have brought up relationship struggles or misunderstandings, miscommunication, that sort of thing. With Venus sextiling Libra, you kind of like have this ability to embrace your weirdness, embrace your black sheep energy, the things that you've been shamed for or belittled for, or just like made you feel ostracized. You can kind of embrace those aspects of yourself and integrate them more fully into yourself. Any of the triggers that you had observed yesterday, if you had triggers yesterday, it's a great time to reintegrate those things into you. And this Venus sextiling Lilith is kind of facilitating that, especially with that Venus squared Saturn. Like anything, basically what I'm trying to say here is anything that is Venusian tied. So around relationships, beauty, aesthetic, your own personal body, you could feel that too. If there were any triggers from yesterday, you can hopefully help integrate that and accept yourself authentically for who you are, instead of ostracizing yourself and demeaning yourself in that. So a good opportunity for self-love. Definitely recommend bringing that internally. And also if you have people that are still trying to impose their idea of you onto you, or what they think or feel about you, and they're not authentically seeing you for who you are, it's a good opportunity for you to tell people who you are, to show them who you are, to facilitate the type of person that you are, how you want to show up, and how you want to be treated. Because Lilith doesn't take no ish. Lilith is all about your wild feminine energy, very freeing, very liberating. It's your rebellious, fiery spirit that is being heightened by that Venusian energy. And Venus is very feminine energy too. It's just on the more soft, docile, I want to make everything beautiful kind of thing. So you have this merging of two different types of feminine energy together to make something really beautiful and fun. This day it can be filled with sensual magnetism. You may feel yourself or to be attracted to others, like have this magnetic pull to others as well, or be feeling yourself. Yeah, great time to show who you are, and by dressing as your Lilith too. Yes, that's a great point, baby. Thank you. Dressing as your Lilith, that's an excellent point because like we were kind of going into, right? Venus also rules over beauty, beautification. So making yourself feel beautiful, feeling that self-expression and like not caring what other people think as far as like how you're dressing or what you're looking. Thanks, baby. My wife just said I had beautiful eyes. I bet you guys are jealous. Anyways, but yeah, beautifying yourself, making, just taking the extra effort. And also something that I feel like is kind of shamed for women a lot of the time, go on my little tangent here and then we'll move on. But something that I feel like women are very shamed for is beautification of self, right? It's like, oh, you take so much time to get ready, you're doing this, you're doing that, like why can't you just get ready in 2 seconds, or it's like, gosh, you spend so much money on your nails or your hair or all these things, right? But at the same time, it's like you alchemizing the money that you've made and putting it into self-love that makes you feel good and you feel appreciated, and making a physical testament to your self-love. So it's a good day for self-care too, and beautification, exactly like my wife said. So thank you for adding that point, baby. That's a great addition there for this transit. Also Venus and Sagittarius being like very fun-loving, exuberant, extravagant, like they want to kind of go and one up. So it is that energy too. You might feel more inclined to kind of give back in that sense. Just like I said before with the Venus and Sagittarius transit, be careful of overindulgence and overspending in that. Everything in moderation is good. But if you've already been moderate, it's okay to splurge a little bit on yourself. It's a good time to lean into pleasure, the untamed feminine energy, personal power, and embracing that loving nature of Venus. And then there's me and you, and have to remind me to go get my nails done because I hate sitting there. Yeah. I asked my wife yesterday, oh, do you want to go get your nails done? She's like, no, they take forever. I was like, I know, they take so long. They really do. They take so long. I don't know what it is with that nail salon. Maybe we need to go to another one. But yeah, she was just doing like the most easy thing too. She was just doing this shellac with the black over it. And I felt like it took them like an hour and a half to do it. So it's not that she's impatient. She's usually pretty patient, but it's like hour and a half for that long is a little excessive. Anyways, moving on. Yes, this is a great transit to embrace your confidence and sense of personal liberation, which is why others may feel drawn to you as well, that magnetism that I was talking about. On the lower vibration, you can lean into darker vices and addictions, especially with that Venus and Sagittarius like I was talking about. It can be like the overinflation of things, So just be aware of that. And also Lilith does have, it's like the dark feminine energy, so Lilith does have an affinity for the darkness. So if you're not counterbalancing that darkness with some of your own light, then sometimes it can lead to too much darkness, like an overabundance of that. So just be aware. All right, so on the 30th, and I'm very excited because we're leading up into Halloween, the veil is getting thinner and all the exciting things. So on October 30th, Mercury in Scorpio is in opposition to Uranus and Taurus, which can be a little bit more on the challenging side here, but let's dive into it. The first Mercury in Taurus in opposition to Uranus and Taurus happened all the way back in 2018, and that was on October 10th. These themes ripple throughout all the way up until the last transit, which is going to be in 2025, and that will be on December 10th. So we have three more transits where these planets are going to be in opposition of this sign. So this is only 3 more where Mercury will be in Scorpio and Uranus will be in Taurus before they move on to another axis. So basically what that means is like all the way from 2018 until 2025, the communication and like chaos energy has kind of been heightened for the Scorpio and Taurus axis. Then we will be moving into the Sagittarius and Gemini axis after a couple more transits in 2025. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that a little bit, especially for those Scorpios and Taurus that may be resonating with this energy, especially from 2018, and potentially why. So an interesting pattern I did find while I was researching this is that this transit only happens when Uranus is in retrograde. Like I went all the way back to the 1600s and researched this. It only happens during a retrograde, which basically to me is like a giant exclamation point on this, and it brings this energy more internal, like potentially your own internal sense of freedom and liberation versus confinement and imprisonment, or your sense of rebelling from something, whether that be good, bad, right, or wrong, you know, if it's authentic to you or not. So it brings this transit brings a great opportunity for you to change how you perceive what real freedom is to you and how to express that, and potentially give you another way to convey what you want to others, and be more free in an authentic way instead of a manipulative way, if that makes sense. Let me know if that is resonating, or if you're understanding what I'm trying to convey to you here. This is a good day to practice patience and grounding, especially with Uranus and Mercury. Both planets are very rapid. They're very quick. They want things done very quickly. Uranus is involved with sudden change, transformation, not in the Plutonian way that can be very long set. It's much more like sudden, rapid change. Like, I want to see results instantly. It's just very rapid, sudden change, very quick. Uranus and Mercury are very closely tied together. Mercury is one of the fastest moving planets in our solar system, and it also rules over communication. So just as a understanding of those planets individually, because of that, you could kind of speak before thinking, pop off. It could lead to like word vomit, because you're just like, oh, I have this instant thought in my head, time to act, because like the Uranus energy just kind of wants to jump, you know. If you think of like the Fool card, right? The Fool card is ruled by Uranus actually in tarot, so it's kind of like on the opposite end of that. It can lead to kind of pitfalls or misunderstanding or new beginnings that maybe have like a rocky start. So just be aware of your communication on the 30th and that potential for misunderstandings between you and other people. It's really important to take a moment to think before responding, and make sure you're listening to others when they talk and not just waiting to respond as well. It's not a good day to go deep into personal beliefs with others, as it's likely that you'll argue or become defensive when challenged. This can also manifest as being the devil's advocate and arguing the other side, kind of just for the sake of it. Scorpio and Taurus are both fixed sign energy, so you can be very fixed in the way that you're communicating, or someone else might feel very fixed, or you guys could project those feelings onto each other, and it's like a little infinite feedback loop here. So just be aware of that, and try always with Uranus, the best thing to do when you have difficult Uranus transits is to kind of just be willing to go with the flow. Be willing to accept any sudden changes that are coming up, even if it's not one that you necessarily want to embrace, but try and take that energy and do the best that you can with what's coming up, okay? So it is really challenging the Scorpio-Taurus axis to kind of get out of that stuck energy, to get out of that fixed mentality, fixed mindset, and thinking that you have to do things a certain way, or they have to go by your plans or rules, because not everything is going to go the way that you want it to go. It's not going to necessarily always go according to plan. And as we're moving forward too, we have fixed signs highlighted with Pluto moving into Aquarius. So I feel like this is almost kind of like you've got to from 2018 until now, you kind of have been like starting to kind of shift up this energy. But once we have that shift from Pluto into Aquarius, it's going to be highlighted in a number of other ways, which we will get into in the future. Okay. Keep an open mind, be flexible when plans are changing. Technical issues or travel delays may also come. You or others may want to create verbal conflict out of boredom or old patterns too. When Uranus is bored, that energy that manifests collectively for all of us, it's like, okay, how can I stir the pot? Like, I want some tea, I want some drama. Let's get into it. It's that kind of energy here. So you may experience some nervousness or anxiety as your mind can move a million miles a minute too, especially if you're more of on like the Taurus side of things, where you like to be more methodical and move at your own pace. That Uranus energy is kind of coming through and kind of making everything fast. Mercury too. It's like, all right, let's go. So if you are someone that typically you are kind of not slow, but more methodical or singular with your thought process and things, it could feel a little bit overwhelming to be bombarded with a million thoughts a mile a minute. For those of us that have ADHD and that sort of thing, it might not be too much of a problem because you deal with that on the regular, but on the other end, if you aren't used to that energy, it can lead to some anxiety or nervousness. Keeping your mind preoccupied with games, puzzles, or problem solving will help some of the restless energy that this can bring up. And this also helps us reflect on where we have been stuck in outdated communication patterns and where we may unconsciously or even consciously stir the pot. Yeah, instead of stirring the pot, watch a good drama series, get your fulfillment in healthier ways that still allow you to divulge into the energy you desire. Great point as well, baby. Thank you. Yes. So, you know, kind of, it's okay to indulge in those feelings as long as you're not stirring them up in your own life. I mean, Chris and I both, we like to watch, I mean, we've been watching Love is Blind and those reality TV shows and stuff. And it's like, we love the drama of that, but we hate having it in our own life. It's like we get our fix kind of from watching those shows. So that's a really great point. Thank you for that too, baby. So just looking for more healthy outlets always to deal with some of the more challenging aspects here. And because Mercury and Uranus are both very mental planets, they're very like, they want that mental stimulation. Preoccupying your mind with things that could be fun, or if you guys like Dungeons and Dragons would be great to do. Any like more complex board games or things like that, if you have a group to go play with, that might be really fun to do. And not only that, with Dungeons and Dragons, you can literally act like the crazy Uranian character that pops off and does everything, and there's no personal feelings because you're playing a character. So that's also a fun way to alchemize some energy. Okay. Moving on to the next transit, which is on Halloween. Very exciting. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. That will be October 31st. Mercury in Scorpio is trining Neptune in Pisces, which I think is a very beautiful transit to have on that day. In 2 water signs here, we have Mercury involving communication here. And this will be the last, yes, not the last actually. I'm sorry, I was going to misspeak here for a second. With Mercury and Neptune both being in water signs and creating a trine, very harmonious together, intuition and manifestation hugely intensified here. So the great thing about this is going to be one of the great transits that we're going to follow in up to the new moon in Scorpio on the 1st. So very much take this energy and use it for your further manifestations. This is going to help you majorly because we do have some other difficult transits that are kind of counteracting this manifestation. This new moon might not necessarily feel very new moony of like new beginnings and that sort of thing, which I feel like I said for the last one too, but it's just because we have such tight energy kind of transiting the stars right now. So, but it is basically propelling us into a huge new beginning. So, but this is just like kind of scraping off the excess, cutting off the dead weight, that sort of thing here. Anyways, so with Mercury in a trine with Neptune, basically after Uranus comes to shake things up, Mercury trines Neptune, which like I said, enhances, oh, I'm sorry, babe, what did you say? Halloween marks the pivotal moment we switch into the 111 portal. Great time to manifest. Yes, thank you. That is great. This is a perfect transit as we bring in the new moon in Scorpio. Your words and desires are infused with emotional power here, enabling us to manifest and plant seeds for future goals and aspirations. Oh, by the way, when I started this video, it was at 222, so another angel number there. Creativity, imagination, sensitivity, and spirituality are enhanced with this transit. Dream your reality, allow your inner child to play, and bring up the deep wishes that you have left buried inside of yourself. It's a good time to tap into those core desires and wants and needs, or even that feeling of, you know, like childlike wonder and glee, and bring that energy into this manifestation to make it more potent, to make it more powerful for you, because you are counteracting some of, you know, the lower vibrational energies or lessons that are kind of happening and coinciding at the same time as this new moon. Your communication style could be enhanced with empathy and compassion here, which is great. Psychic abilities are very much enhanced. It's a good time to train your intuition and predictive abilities as well. And this also gives you the ability to see the bigger picture of things, to kind of look at the core of everything, because you have Mercury and Scorpio here, which they like to deep dive and really get the whole layout of things, the whole blueprint of things, right? And then you have Neptune, which is very high-minded, very collective energy. So it's like you have the nitty-gritty details and the bigger picture on like a core level, like the bottom floor foundation, and then you have like the view of the skyrise with Neptune and Pisces here. So you have these great vantage points basically to create something really beautiful here for yourself. Thank you for everybody that has joined and commented and supported as well. Good to have y'all here. And basically from the 31st, with that beautiful trine between Mercury and Neptune, we have the new moon in Scorpio on November 1st, which will be at 7:45 a.m. CST. So let me go into some of the exciting things that we have here. So everything that I said basically leading up to this is applicable as well. We have Saturn still in a trine with the sun. We have Saturn also trining the moon, impacting this moon, stripping off some of those lessons, allowing us to set new milestones, manifestations, plant new seeds for us outside of the lessons and restrictions that Saturn may have imposed on us. And with that trine between the sun and Saturn, it's like we're very aware of what those restrictions are. We know kind of how we need to move, what we want, what we don't want. You have a good vision, a clear vision, basically kind of illuminating also what we were talking about with the trine between Mercury and Neptune, where it's like you're really clear. You have the potential to be very clear if you've done the work, if you've put in the effort, if you've been aware of your patterns and, you know, been kind of elevating yourself along the way and doing the work. It's like this could be a really great time for you to lay that foundational brickwork if you haven't done so already. We do still have from last week a little bit of this. We have Pluto squaring the sun and also squaring the moon. So even if you do have a clear framework of things, you could still feel that underlying current of tension or friction, or like almost like when you know something is changing but you don't necessarily know how or why even. It's like that fear of, well, what is it going to look like once I let go of what already was? Like, what does it look like when I step into this new version of myself? Or I embrace these things that I actually want, or I challenge my ego and you know, I don't allow my emotions to control me anymore. Like, what do I look like? What happens if I get everything that I could want, you know? So you might have like these conflicting visions and ideas on the new moon. We will see so many steps into abundant energy. Super excited. This energy is speeding up. Yes, we're stepping into abundant energy. We're closing out a lot of really intense cycles. Our cardinal signs are finally closing out a lot of cycles. We're closing out this eclipse pattern. We're moving into a new axis for our north node and south node in a few months too. There's so many new beginnings that are coming to us, you know. So there's a lot of really great things here, even in the, you know, challenging aspects that we have this week and with this new moon. Just remember to be kind to yourself and allow yourself to feel whatever is coming up, even if it's not like you have a super clear idea of everything. Yes, freedom. Yes, even if you don't have a super clear idea of, you know, the path moving forward, you can still set the intention of something. You can have the intent. You can set the intention for clarity. You can set the intention to have joy in the present moment, to bring yourself to the present so that you can remember where your point A is in order to get to your point B, you know? So even if you don't feel like you have everything together, if you feel like maybe you're still doing some of that inner work and trying to find out where you want to go, that's okay too. It doesn't mean you're behind everyone else or that you're doing anything wrong. It just means that you're moving at your own pace. The other thing too, just to remind you all for astrology, is like this is general energy. Your personal transits are very different. I do personal transit readings as well. I had clients over the last couple weeks that I did some transit readings for, and it was very different energy than we had collectively. So if that's something that you're interested in, I can always do a personal reading for you as well. It's on FlavoredVivid.com. Okay, so let us go into November 2nd here, so we have the new moon on the 1st. Intention, all blocks are lifted. I see my path clearly. Yes, that's a really great intention and manifestation to put down too for the new moon. If you're not clear on things, journaling is a really great way also. So the height of the new moon is going to be on the 1st, but you got to remember too that the orb of it is going to be at least 3 days, after, and usually 2-3 days before as well. So it's going to basically be we're already in the sphere right now of being impacted by the new moon. It's just not at the height of its power yet. So you can start thinking about those things now too if you would like. On the 2nd, we have Mercury in Scorpio trining Mars and Cancer, which is nice to have all of these positive aspects with Mars, as it's still under that rule of Pluto. There is that Mars square Pluto that's going to be happening, that is happening currently. So it kind of helps alleviate some of that tension and friction and aggression of Mars that is currently being transformed by Pluto. But with Mercury trining Mars, we actually had the last Mercury in Scorpio trining Mars in Cancer. It was all the way back on November 20th of 2007, while Mars was retrograded in Cancer. That's 17 years ago. 17 years. That's a huge gap, like, of the first time that this portal opened up until now. So we're closing out this huge cycle here with this. There's an influx of persuasion, smack that business deal into place, get that raise, sell that product, self-advocate. So we had that new moon right before, you know, and then you could go into this transit and just freaking crush it. Like, you set your intentions, you know what you want, you have that persuasion about you, you are willing to like make things happen, make things move, make things shake up and change to create the abundance that you're looking for, you know? It's a great time to set boundaries with others as well. It's a great time to share thoughts you might usually keep to yourself. If you need to defend yourself verbally or defend those that you care about too, you might have the moxie to be able to do that and the tact to do it well as well. You could win verbal debates with this transit. It's a great transit for lawyers and policymakers as well. Great to get your studies down. It enhances your mental energy and fortitude, and your ability to concentrate and be precise with what needs to get done is very heightened here as well. So even if maybe you're a little fuzzy still on the new moon, the following day you might have a little extra clarity to set those intentions while that portal is still open, because it doesn't need to be, it's not like you have to wake up at 7:45 a.m. and, you know, do it right on the dot when you know the new moon is at its height. You can still take advantage of these energies a little bit later as well. It's a good time to take risks. You're more likely to have a positive result if you're doing so, and it increases your confidence and comprehension. The thing here, because we do have Mercury and Scorpio, you might have like family secrets that come out or may be revealed around this time. Venus is also on the ascendant line with this transit as well as the last Mercury trine Mars transit. So this could also be an advantageous day to deal with relationships or dealing with people in general. And you may have better luck with others during this day. Still on November 22nd, we have Mercury in Scorpio sextiling Pluto and Capricorn. The first Mercury in Scorpio sextile Pluto and Capricorn was on October 29th of 2009 at the 1st degree. This will be the last Mercury in Scorpio sextile Pluto in Capricorn of our lifetime. This is never going to happen again. This is our last one, and then we move into a completely new cycle. And Pluto doesn't complete its full revolutionary cycle for like another I think it's like 274 years. So we will not be seeing these planets in these houses again. The date, Brittany, of the first one was October 29th of 2009. Yes. And then November 2nd, this will be the last one at the 29th degree. Okay. So the Sun, Moon, and Mercury are all in Scorpio. This last Pluto transit will help facilitate change around your emotions, your ego, and communication here. Serious conversations and matters may need your attention, and you will have the depth and ability to give it your all. So where like that Uranus transit that happened a few days ago, in this sense, it's that's all about like the levity, the light, and now we can kind of dive into the deeper matters that need a little bit more attention here with Mercury and Scorpio sextile Pluto and Capricorn, because Scorpio has a very investigative nature to it, especially through communication here. There may be a penetrating nature to your mind, your thought process, and how you communicate with others, which can be unnerving to some, but sorry, my puppy is jostling the camera, if you saw that. You could have intense magnetic and strong intuition and a powerful intellect here. That's going to aid you in communication with others too. So if you've been dealing with being misunderstood over the last few weeks, or even like the last couple months, this transit could come through and allow you to have the directness that you may need in order to convey what is necessary for you. You may encounter very alluring people or great public speakers on the second as well. May uncover secrets or schemes if you trap people in their own lies. So kind of like if you're baiting people, you know, if you kind of like ask a question to see how they respond and loop back around in a conversation and ask the same question in a different way, and maybe you get a different response. That's very Scorpionic energy, and it's strategically placing and planting these seeds to see where the consistencies are and where the inconsistencies are. It's strategic conversation. That being said, with this, don't be abusive with others, as there may be a heightened thirst for power and dominance over others, because we do have Mercury and Scorpio, and then, you know, when Pluto is involved as well too, you can kind of deal with those power struggles and imbalances. The reason because of that is where the Taurus, the second house, rules over your resources, my resources, personal resources. The 8th house, which is ruled by Scorpio and Pluto, is our resources, shared resources. So the reason why there's power struggles and imbalances there is because you're trying to maintain your own individual needs and desires while still finding a commonality and a middle ground of where you can kind of meet each other. So that's where the power struggle can kind of come in here. So you might also encounter that a little bit within communication, where you're going back and forth with someone about what your needs are, what their needs are, how to kind of meet each other in the middle to where you're both satisfied in that. All right. So from November 2nd to January 8th of 2025, we have Mercury entering Sagittarius, which is very exciting. Yes, it's not the best placement in the world for Mercury. Unfortunately, it's actually in fall, which means that the energies don't understand each other, because Mercury is very much more detail-oriented. Like if you think of Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury, very detail-oriented, analytical, logical, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is the planet of optimism, joy, expansion. So sometimes when you have this optimistic energy, it's like you're not realistic enough to potentially portray what you're trying to convey to someone in a realistic way, in a truthful way. And it might not even be like you're intentionally trying to lie or manipulate to someone. It's like you, almost like you're so optimistic about things that you're like, yeah, it'll just figure itself out. Well, it'll get there, you know, it's gonna come together. But then there's no follow through or action or incentive to kind of get those things done and to take what's necessary for you to actually make that optimism into a reality here. So that's where it can be like unrealistic expectations and over promising when you can't deliver. It could also be popping off and not minding what you say, not minding your tongue, because you just verbally are like, bleh, this is what I feel, this is what I think. And a fire sign, Mercury in a fire sign, is very much that way, where it's just like, I say what I mean what I say, even if it's not necessarily the right thing or the correct thing. That's what tends to happen when Mercury is in a fire sign such as Sagittarius. Even when it's Sagittarius, which is the oldest of the fire signs, it has that same fire. Very quick communication style and very impulsively driven here. On the positive, this can make you feel more extroverted and want you to connect to more people, especially for us moving out of like the Scorpio Mercury, which can be very withholding and withdrawn and private. And then after like this intense, secretive, transformative potential of having Mercury and Scorpio, then we move into this optimistic, philosophical fire sign of Sagittarius. So that is another plus that we have here too. So you might feel a little bit more extroverted. You could be more spontaneous in your thoughts and decisions here. And you could be more thrill-seeking or adventure-driven as well. So let's see. This has been an interesting month. Interesting month, Kitty. Yeah, it's been interesting. October has been an interesting one. I feel like there's been a lot of intense energies and polarized energies on either side. So yeah, let me know in the live what you guys have been thinking about this month. With Mercury and Sagittarius, you got to think big picture and explore new philosophies and be curious about the worlds around you as well. Sagittarius is the explorer, the experiential learner. So it's a good time to try new things and dip your feet in the water. And so that's going to be, like I believe I said this, but just in case I didn't, this is all the way from November 2nd to January 8th of 2025. And we will hit a retrograde, and that's going to be from November 25th until December 15th. So we will get a little bit more of that introspective energy here too, with Mercury and Sagittarius, which is, I think, is going to be interesting because we do also have our Jupiter retrograde happening at the same time. So I'm interested to see how Jupiter is impacted with having Mercury natively in its sign, and how those things are going to kind of connect to one another. I'm excited because we have an asteroid transit too, which the asteroids take a little bit longer to transit, so I don't usually get to talk about them very much, and they're a little bit harder to find aspects on. So I'm excited to go into this one. This is going to be like the big relationship section, I guess, of this video, and this is going to be Juno entering Scorpio, and that happens from November 3rd all the way to February 19th of 2025. The cool thing about this is we are going to get a lot of this energy because we are going to be having a retrograde here, which I am going to be diving into. We will have a long period of Juno and Scorpio. Juno will be retrograded in Sagittarius in early 2025 and then enter Scorpio again on April 15th. And then it's going to enter Sagittarius again on October 1st when direct. So we get another instance of like that Sagittarius retrograde energy too, and Scorpio before it moves back direct, and then we can kind of close out that cycle. Juno is all about long-term relationships, loyalty, long-term partnerships, how you view commitment. This is highlighted energy on Scorpio specifically. If you have Juno natively in Scorpio, this is going to be your Juno return. So you can have a big changing and culmination of like how you view relationships, what you want from a long-term commitment and partnership, where maybe you've learned lessons over the course of the last, I think it's like 10 or 12 years. I can't remember exactly how long a Juno transit is, but at least a decade or so of going through these signs. Like, what have you learned since your last Juno return? Or if this is your first, like, how can you integrate some of the lessons that you learned, you know? So that's going to be highlighted here. Initially, we could have an unraveling of partnerships, seeing where you may feel like your partner isn't giving you the depth that you desire, because Juno and Scorpio is very, very committed. It's very loyal. It's very intense. It really, Juno and Scorpio is like, you're really looking for that intense, transformative, just like soul inspiring love is what you're kind of looking for with a Juno and Scorpio. It's like unrivaled loyalty and commitment, and like bearing your deepest parts of your soul to one another and helping each other grow and transform, and like not shying away from the shadows. That's like the highest vibration of Juno and Scorpio, and kind of what you might look for within a partnership or connection if you natively have that, or during this time. Yes, very sacred. Specifically in Scorpio, let's merge souls and rise as a phoenix. Absolutely, baby. Exactly that energy. And with that intensity too, it's like part of the potential for transformation with people that natively have this. And as we're moving through this transit, is sometimes with that desire for the intensity can be confused with power struggles or imbalance, abuse of power, physical abuse, mental, all kinds, you know. And it's like a lot of people going through their Juno return or learning these lessons, they can be trying to kind of rip apart those really deep-seated beliefs around relationships and what a healthy relationship is, or what they've settled for in long-term relationships. So any of my folks that have gone through abuse in relationships, marriage, partnerships, secrets, lies, all of these things are really getting ripped apart for you to be like, okay, this isn't for me anymore, and for you to reintegrate what you have learned from those things, so you don't have to fall into those patterns again, and hopefully so that you can find the relationships and partnerships that you're desperately like wanting, you know, that intensity, you know, that loyalty, that soul, you know, soul meeting soul, rising from the ashes as a phoenix, that energy. The other caveat to that, if you're looking for that, it's not like it's going to be like that 100% of the time. Like sometimes you're just sitting in bed eating a pint of ice cream and watching Love is Blind, you know, and that's not the most intense thing in the world either. So it's also mitigating those expectations. You could be on the other side too, where it's like, oh, I'm so bored with my partner, I wish I had more excitement, or this and that. But maybe it's just you having a healthy relationship for the first time. So make sure you're mitigating your expectations and being realistic, and making sure you're not self-sabotaging as well. All right. So what do I got here for you guys? Unraveling of relationships. Yeah. If you've already kind of discovered these your standards, your boundaries for you, you could be very clear which partnerships are working for you, or it could be made clear what partnerships are working for you and where you want more passion, connectivity, and loyalty, and which ones aren't. So this could also be a period where you're cutting people out of your life that haven't been meeting you where you needed. Maybe you've continuously expressed how you need somebody to show up for you, and they haven't really been making the effort to meet you that way, or refuse to meet you that way. It's like I said before, where it's like my resources versus our resources. What shared resources do you need to meet each other in the middle here, to make each other still feel fulfilled in your partnership? Make sure you don't fall into power struggles and manipulation from your partner, and don't try to manipulate your partner on the other sense of that too. While Juno is in Scorpio, there may be secrets revealed within your committed relationship as well. Old fears, anxieties, and triggers could either be put to rest or challenged for you to be healed. Once we hit the Juno retrograde and move back from Sagittarius into Scorpio, this can be our time to reflect on what lessons we've learned during Juno's time in Scorpio. So just remember this and reflect back on anything that may have come up while Scorpio was direct in Juno, or Juno was direct in Scorpio. And then you have the opportunity to kind of bring it internal and be like, okay, well, what did I learn? What did I see? How did I act? You know, and just get a good scope of where you've been and where you may want to move to next. This will be a time of letting go, to reevaluate and course correct your beliefs and values around commitment, and see if what you want is still the same thing. It's okay if things change. We're human and we're meant to change and grow. So just be honest about yourself about what you want and what you need. The time where you can willingly make the change is going to be during, where you can willingly make the change is going to be during the retrograde. That's where you're going to be reflected on everything. So you have all of these things that may happen and culminate during the initial Juno direct. Then you have the opportunity to reflect on those things when it's retrograde, and then when it goes direct again, if you've been holding on to those things, that's where it might be that you're forced to let go of those things if you haven't willingly done it. It might be a little bit more painful if you've been clinging on to these things that are no longer good for you past that point of the retrograde. And it also might be that you have to repeat those cycles until the next Juno transit through Scorpio, if it's native for you, if you're native Juno and Scorpio. All right, moving on from that, on November 3rd, we only have a couple more things and then we will be done. Oh, I'm sorry, baby, wait, let's see. It's important to consistently do check-ins in your relationship and grow together. Absolutely. Your point A is always constantly changing. Your point B could very well be changing too. And if you guys are still stuck in some belief or idea of like, hey, this is where we are, and it's completely off base. Maybe one of you thinks it's here, the other one thinks it's here, and really it's here. You know, it's like you got to check in. Or if they're not aligned anymore, that's okay too. Grow your own way. Absolutely. And when growing together, also prune. Exactly. See, you guys already know. You got it in your mind already. Yes, prune. I love it. Yes, Juno and Scorpio, it's some intense energy indeed. That doesn't have to just be romantically, it can also be like business partnerships and things as well. So keep that in mind. We have a couple transits on November 3rd. I'm excited. But the first one that we have is Mars in Cancer in opposition to Pluto in Capricorn. And I have been talking about this what feels like incessantly for at least a couple weeks now. I literally was talking about this transit earlier with my wife. This is the last Mars in Cancer opposition to Pluto in Capricorn in our lifetime, okay? The first one was on March 7th of 2008 at the 0 degree, at a critical degree. We came into this at a critical degree. And basically this is cardinal signs wrapping up lessons on how we take action. Next highlight is going to be on fixed signs, namely the Leo Aquarius axis. Interdependence is so important. It's easy for people to become enmeshed. Absolutely it is. Thanks, baby. So with the Leo Aquarius axis, the reason why Leo and Aquarius axis is so highlighted is because all of the Mars opposed Pluto for the next 16 years are going to be in Leo and Aquarius. So that's one of the caveats with Pluto. When it transitions into a new sign, the oppositions between Mars and Pluto are in different signs, and they will stay in those signs until Pluto transitions into a next planet. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if it's making sense or if I'm breaking it down all right, okay? So this is going to be, in fact, impacting cardinal signs, and then it's going to be impacting fixed signs right after that. And part of the reason is later on in the day, Mars moves into Leo. So we will actually get a little bit of this transit hitched onto the fixed signs, hitched on to Leo. The impact of this transit lasts roughly, that's the dog moving the camera again, roughly 3 months. So we have a big area of time here that we're going to be experiencing that. And then our next opposition is actually in January. So we're basically getting like hit with this opposition, this Mars opposition, and then we're going straight into the next one in 2 new signs. So we have a lot of mixed up energy with this. Planets between the 28th degree for cardinal signs, which cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And the 6th degree fixed signs, which is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, will be affected the most. Okay, so that's any planets in those signs between those degrees, if that makes sense. Trying to break it down as sufficiently as I can. I'm working on my communication too. So people who have been dominating others and pushing their power onto those with less could finally be cut off and deal with the repercussions of their actions. You got to think these, like I said, the very first aspect of this was all the way down in March 7th of 2008. Okay, so this cycle could have been, this power struggle and opposing and dominating over other people could have happened all the way back then. Also, just think, you know, maybe politically or worldly, like what happened starting in March 7th of 2008. Like, where can you see the bigger picture impacting this as well? Because Pluto being in Capricorn, I mean, we saw a huge ingrowth of wealth for the 1%. We saw a lot of politicians and people of power oppressing people without power, you know? So you gotta think of big picture too, not just individually. Like, we are all a reflection of the collective energy. So if you can see it within, you can also see it without. Cancel culture could be rampant too, explosive conflicts, hidden cruelty brought to light, and a call for justice, which I feel like collectively we've already kind of been on that train and path. I don't know how many people need to be canceled or how many injustices brought to life, but whew, what a world we live in, am I right? Anyone who has been escaping accountability through secrecy and bearing their transgressions will be challenged here. It's this energy of someone trying to take action to correct what they know is wrong, and the wrong party still trying to impose its influence over the change. You know, like we all, like I don't know, like a universal truth being like, you shouldn't behead someone. That's probably not a good thing to do. And then, you know, maybe like if you look back at like this, I don't know, 17th century French Revolution, and it's like, no, we can't behead people. That's terrible. You know, like, or we can behead people. Like, absolutely, we've been doing this for X amount of time. You know, it's like that opposition of energy here. I wish I had a better example there. If y'all have a better example of that, drop it in the comments below of something that outlandishly should be a truth, and someone being like, nah, fam, I'm going to gaslight you and say that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Because that's kind of that energy. It's like people not wanting to take accountability and own up to their part of being wrong or in the manipulator spot or anything like that. Thanks, baby. That was a rough one. That's not one of my better. Water is wet. Yes. Self-mastery will be tested here. Anger is quick to trigger. Injustice can feel particularly intolerable, and you may fall into your darker wounds if you don't rise above. So if you're not really like embracing this energy and allowing, you know, a new wave to kind of come through, then you're going to get swept away into it as well. And it might not be very nice for you. This will be a transit of recalibration and consistency, over and over, to not fall into pitfalls and traps. This is going to be multiple transits that we have once we shift over into the Leo Aquarius axis too, and that's going to be hitting our fixed signs, and it's going to be highlighted energy there. And with fixed signs too, it's like usually in the fixed signs you don't necessarily have the mental framework, I shall say. You're stubborn. You don't want to, you're fixed. You don't want to like move through, where it's like with Mars and Cancer opposing Pluto and Capricorn, cardinal signs are like, well, I can't change it even if I wanted to. Like, we know the change is coming, you know? So it's just a different energy. So I'm interested to see how it's going to be affecting fixed signs as we move into this new, you know, Pluto and Aquarius too. So that's going to be one thing. Power struggles and balances, anger, aggression. You have like this, you could even have people being aggressive over the retrograde part is coming up. I'll jump into that a little bit. I'm not doing a full Mars retrograde bit, but we will touch on it a little bit. When it actually comes up, I will go in depth onto the retrograde. But systemically seeing aggression, uprising, violence, in opposition to the positions that are in power too. Could be something with the Mars in opposition to Pluto here. Or it could be that the, you know, people in power are opposing aggression and dominance over people that don't have power because they don't want the change to happen. So, all right. November 3rd, Venus in Sagittarius is in opposition to Jupiter in Gemini. Very exciting aspect with Venus in Sagittarius, our first one here. This opposition brings into question your desire for comfort and your conflicting desire for expansion. Because Venus is like beautification, comfort, monthly. Yes, I have been inconsistent. I usually try to post astrology updates on Sunday or Monday, but the energy's been very intense for me, so I skipped last week and just jumped into the full moon or the new moon for you guys. Anyways. This transit, Venus in opposition to Jupiter, can bring overindulgence, unrealistic expectations in relationship, financial challenges from overspending or bad budgeting, and difficulty making decisions here. This is the comfort versus excitement energy too. If you've been very disciplined and saved leading up to this then can be a great time to kind of let loose and have some fun. So for those very type A personalities that are budgeting and like, I spent 72 cents here, you know, like allow yourself to loosen up and have a little bit of fun. It's okay. Like your whole bank account isn't going to crash if you spend $25 on going out to the movies or something, you know, like, so on the other side of that, if you're somebody who incessantly overindulges and overconsumes, it's very much not the time to continue that. It's time to moderate and rein it in a little bit. So determine which side of that axis you're on and determine how you need to move forward with this energy. Yes. Oh, the puppies. Yeah, I've been showing my wife puppies incessantly. Not because I want another one, it's just the babies. I have been making jokes about how we would have like 6 dogs, but we just can't do it. We can't do it. Yes, if you've been, let's see, another positive here is you could feel more playful or be even like a little bit more loving than usual. Your desire to have a good time and indulge in your personal pleasures could be highlighted, and there's ways to indulge and have pleasure without blowing your bank, you know? So just be a little creative here in what you can do, what you want to do, or what you even have around the house that you can use. And, you know, like we have paint and canvases and stuff in the house, and like little things that you can kind of explore and create and have fun with too. Let's see. As long as you practice moderation with this transit, you should be all right. With that Mars opposed Pluto aspect influencing us, make sure you're not making split decisions, especially when emotionally fueled here too. Allow yourself to experience pleasure and joy when it comes, without it allowing you to completely overcome and control you as well. Yes, only the back, not the bank. And then the last bit we have here on the 3rd of November, we officially have Mars entering Leo, and that's going to be until January 6th. There's a caveat here, I'm going to get into it, okay? So the direct is going to be from November 3rd until January 6th. That will be while Mars is in Leo, okay? So we're moving out of the watery and emotional sides of Cancer. Thank Jesus Almighty. May we praise you, bless you. Not actually, I'm not Christian, but it just felt right for whatever reason there. I don't know. But yeah, we're moving out of that. It's been very intense energy, Mars and Cancer. I know my cardinal signs have been feeling it. Anyone with major Cancer placements has been feeling it. Oh my gosh, it's been intense. But we move into the fire sign of Leo, which is a little bit more direct, which I'm appreciative of. It still can be a little difficult here, but it's nowhere near as manipulative as Mars and Cancer is, which is a nice thing. We have an extra long Mars and Leo and Mars and Cancer transit though, because we have the Mars retrograde, and that is going to be starting on November 6th. That will be on November 6th. Mars will retrograde in Leo on the 6th. It's going to move into Cancer on January 6th. And then the retrograde ends on February 23rd in Cancer. So we're going to get part of the retrograde in Leo, part of the retrograde in Cancer, and then on February 23rd, it's going to be going direct again into Cancer, and then Mars will finally enter Leo again on April 17th, where it will then continue indirect and then move into Virgo on June 17th. That's a lot of dates and numbers here, but so we're basically going to be yo-yoing back and forth here, a little bit between the 4th house, the 5th house, between Leo and between Cancer. You could feel an influx of vitality, your confidence is boosted, and you could feel drawn to others or others drawn to you with Mars in Leo, which is very exciting. This could be very boisterous energy, loud and taking action or wanting to be the center of attention. It's very quick and impulsive energy, and you may need to dampen your impulses here, because with Mars natively being the ruler of the cardinal fire sign Aries, and then Leo being ruled by fire, by the sun as well, you're getting a lot of quick fire sign energy, very impulsive, very like instant gratification, you know, that kind of thing. So make sure that you're not just completely impulsive during this time. You might have good physical impulses, but make sure to dampen some of like your mental decision making, in the sense that like Okay, let me just take 2 seconds to kind of think this through a little bit before I jump straight in. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how long this reading has gotten. I've been talking a lot. There's been a lot of energy going on though. Anyways, you could be particularly pleasure-seeking and indulgent when left unchecked here as well, because the 5th house, Leo, is ruled by, as the ruler of pleasure. So just make sure you're not, for some reason I'm thinking like gambling, make sure you're not like gambling all your money away or just being really impulsive with your money or actions here. Especially with other people, with Mars in Leo, just especially with that intention-seeking energy, make sure you're being loyal to your partner and that you're not crossing boundaries or doing things that you shouldn't because you're looking for someone's validation or attention. Like that's gonna be a lesson for some of you guys here. In the positive, you could have heightened creativity, volunteering to help children, donate, or spend your extra time with your own children will be really beneficial during this transit, because Leo also does rule over children. If you don't have kids, this is also a great time to take action to connect with your inner child and give yourself self-nurturing, especially with Mars so closely tied to both Leo and Cancer during this transit specifically, because the 4th house, Cancer rules over the 4th house, which is tied to the family or root values, core values, and then the 5th house is the house of children, pleasure, children, that whole thing. Inner child energy, all of that. So there's this highlighted energy on your family life as well. I always tell everyone I'm so excited for my 40s. I feel like I'm finally a grown-up in my 30s and can't wait to mature more in the future. I love that. Yeah, baby. I love that. Don't be scared of the future. With Mars and Leo, we are direct and forthright. Sometimes this can lead to naivety and being a little gullible, as if we can't read between the lines here. If you were irritated, annoyed, or frustrated with someone, it's very likely that you're going to let them know. Mars in Leo doesn't shy away from conflict. The good thing about this, though, what? The good thing about this, though, is that it's very, where Mars and Cancer can be more manipulative, secret, and like not direct in what they want. Mars in Leo is very direct. It's gonna say it like it is. Like there's no wiggle room really to interpret things a certain way. So that's kind of the upside of it, even on the shadow aspect of Mars in Leo. It's like you get what you get kind of thing. It's not so hidden, I guess. Balancing your heart and your ego is the important caveat here. And on the plus side too, you could lean into being very charismatic and generous during this time, very fun-loving, playful. Like tap into the playful, fun energy. Like go on a seesaw, go on the swings, like go jump in a jump house or something. I don't know, like tap into the stuff that you wanted to do as an inner child. That's a really great way to heal and change and alchemize this energy in a way that's positive instead of you potentially projecting it onto others. And also that will help kind of alleviate that tension of I want to be the center of attention for everyone else, or like I need to get my validation from other people. Instead of you seeking it externally, if you're internalizing and allowing yourself to love and nurture yourself in that way, then you're not going to fall into some of the lessons and challenges that the Mars and Leo is going to bring here, you know. And you'll have that opportunity to kind of reflect on how Mars and Leo went once it hits that retrograde as well. So there's that. I'm excited, honestly, to be moving out of Mars being in Cancer for a little bit, but we won't really see the full culmination of that until, like I said, April 17th. But yeesh, that is all that we have for this week. Oh my gosh, we had so many transits, so many things to go over. I appreciate you all. Happy early birthday, Kitty, and happy birthday to my Scorpios here. I appreciate you all. Have a good day.